Hey guys, today with the topic of the anxious attachment style. Why am I starting exactly with this? Because it affects me the most and I had to deal with it the most in the last years. It's also the most interesting attachment style in my eyes, and many of the traits and behaviors it brings with it are written off as pure jealousy and being completely far-fetched. The problem is that there are fixed patterns that you can understand and work on, even if you don't understand them at first or simply don't want to understand them. And this is true both in yourself and in others. But from the beginning, what characterizes an anxious attachment style? Basically you can say that he takes this fateful "we are made for each other, you complete me, you are the one," completely to the extreme and gradually starts to cling and tries with completely different strategies to get what he wants, closeness and security, which he can get at that very moment, so mostly but not. This is a basic outline of the behavior, but of course it goes much deeper, and if you feel caught or your partner is acting this way, then the understanding doesn't start at the point you are at, but it goes back and forth for quite a while, because the attachment style itself only describes how we act under certain pressure situations. Let's say you've met for the first time and you don't notice any strange behavior in your counterpart. This is normal. An anxious style may not come out as such directly, but only when his nature is subconsciously triggered by an action from you or an impulse from his direction. This may be the case very early on or may only gradually increase over the course of the relationship and develop to an extreme. In the case, anxious attachment style, such a trigger would be, for example, if you don't check in with them regularly. With secure styles it wouldn't matter, they would think that they are busy and only after a longer period of time they might say something. With avoidant ones even more so, they are happy if they can do their thing. But fearful? There is then quickly concluded on itself or the relationship itself, and the thoughts go in the direction of, have I done something wrong? What can I do about it? Then they pay attention to little things, sometimes even to whether a word is missing in certain formulations, which they would like to hear. Small doubts are turned into huge problems. On it thoughts which would withdraw ever more security and require that one gives to them attention and proximity. Telling them that everything is good and proving it directly with actions. If this is not the case, because you as a partner just have no possibility or it is too much for you, it goes only so really around and ends with situations in which the attention wants to be forced, or it can also come to the fact that it comes to an abrupt withdrawal. Silence, callbacks are ignored, time for oneself is demanded, although this is either not really used and only serves to punish the partner for it, or one is caught up in thoughts of how this should continue. It is manipulated to see how the partner reacts to security withdrawal from their own side, and sometimes even threatened with separation to try to pull the partner back closer to him. Thereby they have the hope that their partner prevents them and then draw their security from it again. The goal of all this is not to be abandoned, because one is in a constant struggle with not being able to cope with oneself. As I said, anxious attachment styles have strong tendencies to need to put someone on a pedestal for themselves and always need to be connected somehow. They downplay themselves, their abilities and qualities, and overestimate those of their partner. And even if they are not happy in a relationship, they still can't end it so easily, because they are afraid to never find someone like that again, or think to themselves that he would change for them, and yes, no couple is perfect. After a quarrel, an anxious attachment style suddenly sees only the good qualities of their partner and experiences a high. The closeness is incredibly intense, and you don't think about the fact that this can sink again, and it will again sooner or later. This usually ends up with them going in circles over and over again. If they don't get to a safe partner who can handle these idiosyncrasies, it usually ends up with both of them being completely screwed up and not understanding or wanting to understand each other anymore. It is exhausting to nip these bouts of insecurity in the bud again and again, but can be solved with such simple means once you have seen through them. For example, the regular message that creates panic through ignorance when it is missing. Simply any message that today will be stressful and you report when you can, would have eased the situation for them, and there would not be the problem for them on that day. Of course, that doesn't do any good once you're already in that downward spiral and kept coming back again and again to the point where she had to go to extremes to force closeness. At some point, being a safe guy isn't enough there to balance that out. It's something that has to be recognized and that you have to keep in mind. Either by yourself through personality development, or by your partner, and then he has to cope with it somehow. Of course, both together would be advantageous, but that is so without understanding of the matter to have not necessarily. Without the knowledge of the attachment styles we would generalize less and perhaps say, the woman is as an individual so and has her peculiarities on which one must adjust. Ends then mostly with the statement, I am difficult, from the person herself. The behavior would be absolutely transparent with the right background knowledge. Now maybe many people think that according to the social stereo style these are mainly female characteristics and that's why most of the anxious attachment styles are women. Who are absolutely looking for and finding a love, being clingy, missing security quickly, having uncertainty about the partner's feelings every now and then, but I can tell you directly, this is nonsense. There is no connection between the attachment styles and the gender itself. Also a lot of men belong to this attachment style and might then again correspond to the cliché of the nice guy when dating, who just doesn't understand that you don't want anything from him and sends text after text to you. But again, that alone does not equate to this. Anxious attachment styles can at the beginning in a relationship in which they are secure, very well cover up their insecurities and show them more and more after the phase of limerence. And it's not as if this is a disease or that you have a mental problem. It is the result of our experiences and goes back to childhood. It's the way we think and the way we see ourselves and the world around us. When an anxious person comes together with another attachment style, two worlds and views collide, and although we understand each other so well and seem to see everything the same way, we have to find some kind of consensus on this level, otherwise we will gradually push each other away even though we would like nothing more than to be together. And that is where the difficulty lies. What to do now as an anxious attachment style? Create an overview. Both for yourself and your partner. Completely openly explain how you perceive certain situations, how you feel about them, and what you think can be done to counteract them. And early on before everything has already gone down the drain. And even work on recognizing situations in which not reason, but obviously a trigger is at work in yourself to be able to calm yourself down a little. This is possible and you can work on yourself to become a little more confident. Since it is, among other things, a problem of self-esteem, it helps to strengthen it, and this can only be done sustainably by oneself or, if one does not have the strength to do so, with the help of a therapist. The effect on other attachment styles I will address in one of the next videos. Take care and until the next video.